Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, I'm going to do my lighting presentation for Lighting Design 101. But before I jump into that, excuse me, I want to ask and have you guys maybe think about different ways your projects have been illuminated. And maybe this is your house, or maybe this is uh, the people, honestly, this would benefit the most, I think, would be architects listening to it up here because in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, there's not much thought to lighting design. And lots of the people moving up here are asking for it. So I know this would benefit the architects and the contractors, um, and a lot of the custom integrators as well, because a lot of people want nice lighting in their home. And I know there's uh, they just don't know how to give it. And it is its own art and science. And if you can educate yourself, you can arm yourself with different ways to uh, provide the best illuminated project. My little daughter here wants to jump in the picture. Let's see. There she goes. Indy, look it. There you go. Wait, let's see. Yeah, there. You got some entertaining more than just listening to me, my boring voice. I don't, you disappeared, huh? That's okay. Well, Daddy's gonna talk now, okay? And let Daddy talk. So that's why you got the show. So, if you can, uh, I think what you're going to take away from here is layers and how much lighting impacts the look and feel of the space. And uh, if this is even right for you, if this is because it might not be, this might not even pertain to you if you have an apartment or you're renting your commercial space. But if you want to elevate your own space and you own your commercial space or you're building a new home, a lot of people overlook the lighting, and that lighting is the most important thing, one of the most important things, I believe, in the trades to highlight and accentuate the home, not only how it looks, but also how it feels. And so this little module is a very basic understanding of lighting and lighting design, what it is to help you uh, get the most out of your projects going forward. So with that, I'm going to start here, share my screen. Let's see. Whoops. Hold on. Technical error here. I shared the wrong screen. Screen number 2. Let me see. And then we're going to start this. Okay. The benefits of lighting design for residential and commercial buildings. What is lighting design used for? Well, it's used for sleep and wakefulness. Oh, my slide is going automatically. That's okay. Let me see. Can I pause it here? Yes. I've done this before, I swear. What is lighting design used for? Well, it's used for sleep and wakefulness. It's used for levels of alertness, attention and wayfinding, creating architectural impact, mitigating light pollution. And what I mean, I'll just do a quick touch on those topics, but sleep and wakefulness, you think about it, we've evolved to the rising and setting of the sun for the last 300,000 years. And it's what sets our body's circadian rhythm. It's in our internal clock, and it helps us tell us when it's time to produce melatonin, when it's time to produce low levels of cortisol and adrenaline for awakeness. And it also, uh, yeah, it helps us out. My mind, sorry, my mind is getting lost there because one, my daughter's has a little show right here next to me, but two, the topic I was going to talk about, I can talk about in the next one. But the most important thing for mental and emotional health is getting enough sleep. And you think about it, the electric light bulb was only invented 150 years ago. People aren't aware of the impact it has on the space. And if you uh, control the lighting by eliminating things like glare, using the right color temperature, having adjustable light, uh, bringing in vertical light to the walls and the ceilings, you can make your mental health feel a lot better because you're going to get better sleep if you do it correctly. And you're also going to create a space that feels really good, not just like emotion feeling biologically. It's going to feel better in your body because 50% of our brain space is dedicated to vision. And vision is how we interact with the world, like 99% of us. And we use photons to do that, which is light. So it's very, very important. Uh, Number two, levels of alertness. There's a lot of people out there that say blue light is bad for you, but that's uh, myth busted. I'm going to tell you because blue light is not bad for you. It's the time of day in which you get blue light. So if you're feeling down or dragging, if you actually have blue light, it helps your body feel more alert, more productive, more focused. Uh, there's lots of studies they've done where they have, because there's now where you can do tunable white, where meaning the color temperature adjusts. And I'm not just talking about a dip switch that you get at the box stores. It's actually has each light has a control driver, and then there's a control system that where the color temperature actually adjusts throughout the day to mimic the sun. And then they do these in schools, and the kids are actually able to test better and score better because in the middle of the day they have it mimic the sun, and that's when it's that blue light. And then in the evening it starts to get towards that warm light, or in the morning, and that's what helps our body wake up slowly instead of just being jolted to to awakeness, or helps us prepare to go to sleep as well. So it's very important for that. Attention and wayfinding light. There is also a few studies out there that show how light is, people naturally follow light. So attention, if you, instead of the light fixture being the show, you use a light source with different optics and conceal the light source itself and highlight the architecture in certain spaces. You can highlight the art and make that the architecture show off, make your home be the show. And if you light it correctly, because if you don't light it, then you're not going to be able to see it and it's going to be pretty dull. For the wayfinding part, uh, that's what they use when power goes out on a building is a lot of the lights have battery backup. So, how do I say this? The architect usually draws up a path of egress showing which hallway, which area the people are supposed to escape. There's usually two of those. And a lighting engineer or electrical engineer typically will do battery powered light fixture types and making sure there's a certain amount of foot candles on that path. So that way when the power goes out, people just, instead of lighting the whole building, people have no idea where to go. You follow the light. You can also use it. It's great in nursing homes. It's great for step lights, guide lights, in nursing homes because it's harder to see as we age. You can use it for guide lights or helping find a rail. You can put some tape light even under the rail, and you'll have to do these big, like custom $15,000 illuminated rail unless that's what you want. But you could do a wood rail and a $300 or $400 roll of tape light. That's actually good tape light that there should be less than that, even with the driver and for some quality stuff. And you can build it very affordably. Unless maybe you need some certain specific optics, then you would go to a fixture. But even then, a lot of this stuff that we do requires like contractor being able to do mill work in the field and those types of things to install the light fixtures so they look good. And And we've worked in the field before. I mean, I have personally, so I know how hard it is to install things, and I'm very aware of the install process. A lot of designers have not, and a lot of times they have a thought and think it will work, but just because it looks good on paper doesn't mean it's going to work on the field. So a lot of that beforehand uh, is thought out, and I haven't really had many issues with people not being able to install the product that we specify or the designs that we do. Um, just toot my own horn there a little bit. Okay, creating architectural impact. So the number one way to influence the look and feel of a space is by lighting. If you have a $4 million home being built, and I've seen it before where they put in these little wafer puck lights up in the ceiling. Yeah, they're cheap, but it's not getting any light down to the ground. It's wasted light. So they spend all this money on their interior finishes, and then they don't spend money on the one thing that's going to impact the way all those finishes look, and that's the lighting. And we can dive deep into the science here too, but this is more just an introductory class into lighting and lighting design and what it is to kind of give you guys an idea. The last thing, mitigating light pollution, is it's big because not only do you, as a lighting designer, do you want to create beautiful illuminated buildings, you also want the lights to come off. You also don't want it contributing to sky glow, meaning the whole atmosphere is illuminated, which is an issue. That's why it's harder and harder for astronomers to see the stars, um, because a lot of people are just lighting everything and not really think about it. I remember, and it may not seem like that big of a deal, but it all adds up, and it's relative. Light is relative. So what I mean by that is the best way I can describe it is when I was camping with my family. It was in Montana, and it was completely no camping with my family. Yeah, my daughter's here talking about camping. Uh, that got her attention. But we're camping, and it was pitch black out everywhere, but there's just this one barn light. Many of you have probably seen those barn lights. They used to be a mercury vapor and green, but this was an LED one. And it just because there was one and everything else is so dark, it was so bright that no one could sleep. Like we had to cover up the windows. And you think of that times like a million out in the big cities. That's why it is important to have, I believe, control systems that have those either dimmed down to like 15 or 10%, because you don't need that much light output, or turn off when it's not needed. And then that way that maybe the motion sensors kick on when it is needed and there's people walking through there and they need the light for safety. But other than that, you don't need that wasted light and that wasted energy. And then you don't need light trespass where it's going into other people's property, or glare where like what we were experiencing where it was shining through the window in our RV, or picture that with a residential neighborhood next to an industrial park. That awareness and designing around that is called mitigating light pollution, making sure people aren't experiencing that. Let's see, lighting layout versus lighting design. So a lot of people maybe are not sure, like it's just a lighting layout. People do photometrics. Well, lighting design is not just photometrics. And here's the difference. So I'm going to show you here. This is a typical lighting layout. And we do this too. Some houses only require, some spaces within the home only require budgetary lighting, and we do this. But then in the other rooms, they want actual lighting design where it's well thought out. And then so I'll show you the difference here. But this is the layout. This is the generic 4 cans and a fan, and it floods the room with light. Everything looks pretty uniform. There's not much thought or detail in that. You're just making sure the foot candles are enough. And that's really it. This is lighting design, where you're taking multiple fixtures and you're doing what's called It's a technique called the layering, where you layer in the light. And from here, maybe this would be where a contractor builds a drop ceiling, and behind in the corners or the edges, excuse me, of that drop ceiling, that is where you tuck in some linear low profile lights, maybe with a 30-degree optic, so that way it's getting light down to the ground and washing the wall. And that light that gets down to the ground bounces and fills the space with additional light. And then over here, you do the same thing, and you can actually tell that that is a textured wall, that that has some 3D dimension to it. You see the shadow underneath it and the light on top, where if I show you back, whoops, before, you almost can't even tell. Everything looks pretty uniform and stands out. Here it is accentuated. And then over here, you have a linear mud in wall wash that's washing a certain area of the wall. And down here, you have a downlight that is adjustable, aimable, and it has optics. It's not just the flat, no optic where the light source is right there. That causes glare on low ceilings that actually gives people headaches. And on high ceilings, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't get down to the ground. And those, I see those get installed everywhere. And here, this is something with optics where it's tucked up in and it's pushing the light down to the ground, and you're able to highlight the focal point in the room here, the chair, and then the desk here, and also you can use it as a um, task light as well. And so if this is a home, this atmosphere becomes much more inviting, more comfortable, because no light is shining in people's eyes. This one, it is. On this one, the only one that might be shining their eyes is the downlight over here. But if they're staying in the room and looking normally, they're not going to see it because it's not even in their peripherals. They'd only see it if they're sitting directly underneath it and looking up. That's the point of lighting design, is thought out to the space, layering in the light, thinking about what you want to highlight. And yes, there's some photometrics involved when it's needed, but it's a lot more work, and it's something that does require some expertise, or at least a little bit of knowledge or willingness to do something different, at least if you're doing your own project. Maybe I'd ask you, how you've done your lighting in the past and how it's worked out for you, and what you could do differently. So this space right here, you think about this, if it's a home, it's that wall wash here could be an art piece, and you're drawing attention because, like we said earlier, lighting is used for attention and wayfinding. You're highlighting maybe an art piece, something that you have on that wall. Instead of flooding the whole space, it naturally draws the attention to that wall. And then if it's a business, maybe that's branding, maybe that's your business sign to show off your guys' logo, or maybe it's a sign with your values and what you offer your customers, so that way it just, or selling a product, that way it draws attention to the product that you're selling, and it naturally the customers are going to look there because of light. And before I forget, I'm going to give credit. This room, I didn't do up this room. This is the Unreal Engine training room. So I've used that in training, and then I just used it to modify it and do the lighting. Just give people some ideas of lighting. That's the natural, whoops, sorry, Indy, dropped her iPad. That's the natural color of it. And the orange and the white, I didn't really pick that out, and I just kind of left it. This was more focused around lighting and lighting design, show people what you can do. Just some different options, just some narrow optic downlights located against the wall and creating a light shadow, and then light up above to highlight this. Same thing, but instead of the narrower optics, it'd be a wider optics, and you kind of get more uniform light on that wall. up down wall sconces with that downlight still over the chair. Here, maybe a 60-degree mounted 3 or 4 feet off the wall. Same thing over here. To highlight certain spots, maybe artworks on the wall, and then one accent light up in that drop ceiling, and then the downlight over here. There's another one just with several downlights on that wall, just highlighting this. And this is just a good example of having layers in the space, because then if you have a control system, you can adjust it. You can kind of change the whole look and feel of your space with the push of a button, depending on what you choose. And here it is with all of them turned on, except maybe the step lights are added too. There's 3 step lights here. You can just see the light on the ground here. And that space feels bright, and it feels a lot better than that first example of a lighting layout. So here's a good example too of finishes impact on lighting, because this is just daylight coming in, and this is how bright the space is, and that's a white floor, and it's reflecting probably 90 or 80% of the light within the space. But then you do a wood floor, and all of a sudden, it's dark in there. It's not nearly as bright, and light is relative. I bet if you covered this up, that would look bright enough. But it does make a big difference, and that's where electric light comes in to play. And both areas, I would say, is a good way, because at nighttime, and especially in Coeur d'Alene, if you're here local, you know that it gets dark pretty early half the year, and light really affects our mood, and it not just the look and feel of the space, but also that additionally, if a client's picking out dark walls, you want to be aware of that, so then you're not counting on bounce light in the space or certain areas. You're trying to light it a different way to uh, highlight those areas and those task areas and the ambient light within the space. So what are the layers of light? You probably heard me talk about ambient and task. So yeah, the most common are ambient, accent, and task. And then a new layer it's been out for a while, but a lot of people are starting to finally catch on, is lighting controls. So lighting control, I would say, argue is a necessary layer if you're doing lighting design, and it's its own separate entity. And then you put all those together, you get lighting biology. So that way you got a working adjustable system within your home or your commercial space that allows people to be more productive and feel the way you want them to feel when they go into the space, because lighting can do that. But these are old definitions, and we changed the way that we define those layers, and we can change the way we think about them. Ambient lighting becomes luminescent glow. So it's the glow, the overall feeling in the entire space, the overall how the lighting is affecting the whole space. It's that overall glow. And then accent becomes creating a feeling. Accent, a lot of decorative lights can be accent lights, but so can tape light tucked up and routed up into multiple shelves, highlighting maybe it's a library or bookcases. Maybe it's accent light, it's step lights going up to highlight wood stairs. Maybe it's closet rod lights even, or maybe it's mud and light that's up in the ceiling. That's something very different that hasn't been seen before. Can definitely create feeling. Even I would argue the art lights too as well can highlight those arts, or any type of wall wash can create a very different vibe within the space. And if you notice, just a quick detour here on you should probably drive by like the chains at night, like McDonald's or even Del Taco. A lot of those guys are aware of the impact on lighting and the exterior of the building. They usually have a light going around the perimeter, something highlighting the perimeter, a few vertical light shadow type things. And then there's usually like 3 or 4 exterior layers of light to make their building stand out. And you don't even notice the other buildings. You notice theirs. And that's usually why you go to it, because it stands out and it's very, very powerful advertising tool. Task lighting becomes increased performance. So I'm not going to name any names here, and I love working with interior designers. It's my usually they do great work, and that's when my work usually looks the best, is when we work together as a team. And they work with a lighting designer to help accentuate the whole entire project. But I've seen where they use decorative lights, and they're saying, well, I looked at it and that's intended enough to be the task light, but it's a decorative light that's omnidirectional, so it's only getting probably like 5-foot candles down to the actual work plane, which realistically, if it's like a kitchen countertop or an island, it's recommended to have like 70-foot candles for that, so you can see what you're doing and actually do the task without straining your eyes and straining yourself and not getting headaches. Because the decorative, that's the point of layers. The decorative is for looks, kind of wow, kind of matching your interior design. And then you'd have another layer that's focused on task lighting. Maybe that's a downlight with narrow optics. Maybe it's a table lamp or an under counter type light that's under the cabinet, shining back on your backsplash, so it's not in your eyes, but it's giving you enough functional light to do the tasks that you need to do. And that's not in every space, that's not in every room, but that's where we would identify, or you would identify, certain spaces within your home or business that are considered task lighting. Like home, a good thing, as I said, kitchen countertops. Also, a good thing is like garages doing work where you like to work in there, the guy does, and you want a lot of light in there, much probably more than 70-foot candles. Um, and then like businesses would be like quality control, uh, be like dental work. If you're doing dental work and you need bright light in certain areas, you don't want to flood the whole entire space, maybe because you don't want glare shining right in your patient's eyes to make them feel more uncomfortable even while they're getting their teeth worked on. There you would do an indirect type light and have it shining up, and then you'd have a separate task light with the shield that you can aim right into their mouth, and then maybe a task light over where all your tools are, so that way you're not just blasting them in the face with bright lighting. Lighting controls becomes adjustability and versatility, being able to change and adjust throughout the day with the push of a button, and sometimes automatically if that's what you're having it do. Instead of having, 8 switches on a wall, you're going to have just one switch with 4 buttons, and they have different settings, and maybe sometimes it's on, off, or dim, excuse me, where you can change the look and feel of the space. And then you can get in and adjust that separately down the road. Change your settings if you want something uh, preset for the button to do something different. Lighting biology becomes health and wellness. You're gonna end up feeling better, sleeping better, performing better, overall general health if you can align your lighting with the way your body works within your space. Here's a breakdown of the layers that I just talked about with that room. This is task and performance and feeling. Some lights, as you'll see, can be considered more than just one layer, but by adding a few of them, you create completely different experience within space. The step lights are accent and wayfinding and biology. I say biology because our the eyes I was talking about that uh, helps us produce melatonin or go or be awake. It's specifically located in the bottom part of our eye and it's picking up overhead light. So when we do like lights for nighttime or guide lights, we usually mount them 4 feet or lower. So that way it's not interfering with that or warm color temperature or tell the custom integrator, whoever's doing the controls, to have it at like 30% output, low levels of light, because it helps out a lot. And that's part is the biology part. Over here, this side glow becomes accent and feeling. This one is feeling and glow. Really kind of the same thing, but you're adding to the overall glow. Every time you add a layer in the space, it's adding to the brightness of the space. And you're getting that bounce light by layering it in, and the whole space feels bigger and brighter, and you don't get that cave effect, which is really, really nice. Um, Feeling and glow to that as well. And then you take all those together and put it on the layer of controls, get performance adjustability, uh, versatility. It's really, really helpful. And that's like the good example of the buttons I was talking about. Maybe you can put different labels on them and what they say, morning, afternoon, evening, night, cook, dine, and create all totally different space with a push of a button. So our process is contract, proposal, meeting, design, deliverables, and referral. If you have a project that you like to work with us on that you feel like you could benefit, you can reach out to us through Instagram, Facebook, or visit our website. Or here we got my phone number and my email as well too. And you'd be talking to me directly. Pricing, we probably don't really need to go over pricing quickly unless you had a project where you wanted to work on with us that was pretty specific, but I'll just do it pretty quick. Uh, we got 3 different packages: essential, executive, exclusive, and this one doesn't include renderings is the main difference. This one has renderings specific to your home where we're going through and showing you this is what it could look like. And then we do work again where we do photometrics to make sure it is going to look as close to that as possible. Because like here in this background picture, there's an uplight highlighting these beams. Well, we're going through the photometrics because there's 8 different optics on that light fixture. And we're making sure that I think we ended up with the asymmetric wide beam and highlighted that. Otherwise, if you use someone who doesn't really know what they're doing, or you're they're just wanting to sell a quick product, you might get a bright light that's just causing a big hot spot right there and not really, and then the rest of the light kind of fills in, or you're just getting a little bit of light right there. It's not going to really look like the rendering because people can make it look cool with the renderings, but then do a really shitty job doing the plans because they don't know what they're talking about, uh, or don't know what they're doing. And then with this one too, I'm pointing, but uh, with this one too, we also do one revision to the plans. And then this one is uh, the renderings, and you get like I think 1, 2 to 3 plan revisions are just, oh yep, that's one you get 3 revisions. And this one's where the 4.99 per square foot is usually the custom ones where they got 8 art pieces in going down the hallway or something like that, and they want it to look really good. Also, I guess this is a good point to add on. We are just started today our 30% off fall sale. So if you're an architect or contractor or custom integrator and you've been on the fence and you want to try it out, I would say now's a good time to do it because you're going to get the 30% off, and that's only running till the end of fall here. So um, I would jump on it while you can. Then meeting process, the design phase process. Obviously, I'll just jump back. The meeting process is, we sit down for an hour to 3 hours, however long it takes, and go through the the building space by space and what you want. Uh, if it's generic, that's fine. That's usually pretty quick. If it's usually a custom home, it's like we sit down and go through, okay, what's the look you want in the dining room? What are you trying to achieve? How about the master? And those are usually focus points. But then, because we don't want to, I feel like a lot of the times that stuff gets overlooked and they just put generic lighting in there when really you could really capture those spaces very beautifully if it's done correctly. And then maybe it's the spare bedrooms that get the four cans and a fan because those are guest bedrooms. And unless it's something you really want to show off to your guests, then we would focus more on doing the layers of light and drafting up some pretty significant plans there to make it kind of wow them. Uh, and everything in between there too. We've done like really custom homes, like 16,000 square foot. We've worked on Haganons, vehicle showroom. We've done even some smaller remodels. It's usually geared around fitting the client's needs and what they're looking to achieve. So design phase is when we enter in the concepts and come up with ideas and like the think tank of what they're looking for and what they want to accomplish and how they want to use the lighting to highlight their space. Yeah, I'll go through these, but I'll just show you guys these ones are some renderings we've done on projects we've actually done. Uh, just to show clients of what it could look like, the overall look and feel. And we used the architect's 3D model and integrate that into our drafting system and our visualization system, which are two different things. I'll show you here. I'll just kind of talk about here. We got like a decorative light, and then there's multiple down lights through here. Up here, we got a cove light, and then I just placed those, but that will be a decorative linear pendant chandelier of the owner's choice, and then multiple ring pendants kind of staggered with downlights within the kitchen. And then over here are pinhole lights. And by this table is a decorative pendant and then a couple downlights for the seating area. And then up here on these beams, there's a tape light up on top of the beams, a higher output shining up to the ceiling. Whoops. And then there's downlights in the ceiling that are sloped, adjustable, mud in. And so that way, like, I love the reps. I work with the reps a lot too, but I think a lot of them are usually used to quick layouts. Like I had them help me build a fixture schedule once and I had to redo it all just because it was very lacking. It was non-detail oriented. And we had talked about everything and took the time to sit and go through it. But like even the slope ceiling, it was a flat uh trim light source, which then the light's going to be angled off to the side here. For the slope ceiling, you usually want a housing that is built for slope, so the light's pointing straight down, unless you're specifically trying to highlight something on the wall. Or you can get something where the light source itself is adjustable and you want to check that pitch. You want to check the pitch of the ceiling and check the adjustability of the downlight going in. And a lot of times we're looking at the architectural drawings, their RCP, to see what the ceiling type is, whether it's wood or drywall, and then especially if they're doing flangeless downlight, because then you got to pick the right product that can do the right have the right trim kit for those different ceiling types. So, and then you definitely want something IC rated if it's outdoor, especially indoor. If it's outdoor, usually there's not IC, but you still try to stick with that. And then you want something that's wet rated or damp rated, at least if it's going in the eave. Here are the stairs. Had a pendant with some downlights, a staggered pendant, and then some linear lights intended to be routed into the steps. So I guess that's a good example too, like these wood steps, there's not really a light that just mounts directly to it. It would be more like the contractor or owner, whoever's putting it in, would need to get the channel. We'd specify it with the channel, a low profile one, and usually do a tape light that's considered a COB, which is a line of light, so that way they don't get the spots, the diodes, the stuff that you see at the box store where the diodes are spaced out very far. And there's some very affordable options. There's some pretty expensive options out there. When you hire a consultant, we try to look out for what the client wants and what they need on their project. But that would take just extra care in the install because you're routing in a channel to or routing in to the wood to put that channel in there. So that way it can sit flush. Here, there's a mud-in scoop with light shining out and then tape light underneath that, underneath the fireplace masonry area here. There's another look at the stair lights. Here they want some in-ground lights there. The client talked about having a wood type bench custom made and wants some uplights to the wall to kind of make it glow from behind there. And then this is an art piece where we're highlighting it from the ceiling with downlights, but we're using RGB tunable light. So that way, because as I said before, the light affects the way the space looks and feels, you can actually use it to your advantage. If you're using quality light and adjustable light, you can change the color to change the whole art piece. There's some really good examples of these. This was one I used because they wanted a Paul Kenton piece, and this is from Paul Kenton. We uploaded it on the visual program and showed them what it could look like. And this is shining blue onto it, and it kind of deepens the blues, makes everything a little bit deeper. And then here's yellow, and it kind of makes it feel more summery. And then cyan. And cyan, I think, kind of made it feel a little bit more maybe like Seattle type feeling. And yeah, it was pretty cool. Exterior, we got up lights to highlight their overhang here. And then, so that's the difference. They're just blasting like a security light out into the yard, which you could have those on a layer if you wanted. Where it got up light, we're highlighting the architecture and showing off the layers of the space and subtly too, so there's not light trespass or light pollution, and then you're making the home stand out in a beautiful way. And it's not just by putting any old light there. You could, but it's not really going to work out probably in most cases. So that one's shining up. We've got some up down lights here. General downlighting throughout the space, pinhole lights there, some lighting in this little cove here that are ground lights shining up, and then some task lighting that are down lights down over the kitchen area there. This is the front, highlighting those overhangs as well. Front entryway is illuminated, and then up down on those pillars, and then got some in-ground lights there too as well. This was a building in Spokane. Rep reached out to us and had us help them out with some concepts they wanted with the visual program. That's what we had come up with together, and we did the visualization there. Did some images and videos. Here's a pretty large project that we worked on. Can't say the name, but that one was fun because it was a huge project. And there are beams that are being illuminated, and every metal beam within the house and exterior was getting RGBTW, which is color changing and tunable white. I know, I'm sure everyone's probably, if you're listening, you're probably about ready to be done, so I'll try to be quick here. But went through that, and then highlighting the art on the wall, glow on the table, different lights to illuminate this wavy rock here, and then a glow underneath the seating area as well. Lots of layers. Oh, and then a glow here on this, and then also a downlight too, and then some table lamps too. And we had lots of downlights throughout there too. This is what the exterior looked like. Their dining room with smart lighting down the hallway. Eventually, we ended up adding more than what was shown here, but this was just the rendering. It's a good example of layers of light. This is like in the evening, maybe have the overhead lights kicked off. There's a light over here for maybe an art piece on the wall. The decorative lights, dining table lights are dimmed down, way down. Just the lamp is on. This is a glow underneath uh, using those flex sheets and the glass panel to make the glass look like it's illuminated. And that's on at a dim level. And then when you want it brighter, when you're using the space, come in and kick on the overhead lights and the beam lighting. And yeah, that's very beneficial to having layers of light and controls and knowing what you're doing when you're lighting the space. Thinking about it, lighting the optics, what the space is being used for. And then we take a lot of those visual renderings and concepts and do the photometrics. Then we draft it up on plans. A lot of times there's mounting distance and type labels, and because there's a fixture schedule and each fixture has a type, so that way the installing contractor can follow it and understand what is what's going where and how to aim it, what's supposed to be put somewhere. Because yeah, if the ceiling type is different, it makes a big difference. If everything's drywall and the client doesn't care if it's trimmed or square or round, then and price is more their goal, then we can design around that as well and specify all of that. And it's those are things that we talk about and help out with. So it's more work depending on what you want to do. If you want to do more detail, then yeah, it's more work. If you want it more simplified, then we can help you simplify it as well too. Sorry, I'm talking about us, but I know I feel like a lot of this is supposed to help you guys understand lighting and how you can apply it on your projects at least, and maybe think about it a little bit, at least in layering. And I hope that's what you take away from it, and understand that light has a huge impact on the way we think and feel in the space. So if you can think about it a little bit in ways of how the client is going to perceive it, and whether it's your home or it's a business that you want people to come into, you already putting glare in their face. Are you highlighting your branding? Are you lighting doing accent lighting that bring attention to vertical details, those types of things. Do I want this to be, do I want the routed in wood pieces, uh, or do I just want it more simple, but at least like 3 layers of light within the space, so that way I can have some adjustability with whether it's evening or daytime, those types of things. So uh, thank you guys very much. And this is a recording, so uh, I hope you got some good stuff from it. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll have my email uh, listed on the notes there and my phone number as well. All right. Thank you.